Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining the live stream. We are so excited here. We're back with another segment of Where Are They Now? And I've been excited. We've been trying to get this scheduled here. I'm so excited to talk with Kate Brim. She is a local here from West Michigan, from Lowell, and she's living out in Colorado Springs with the Team USA training camp and the complex that's out there. We also joined by Christy VanHaver. She's a recreational therapist here at Mary Free Bed, who is a sports coordinator with our wheelchair and adaptive sports department. We are talking to Kate. She is a multiple medal winner, Paralympian, and we're going to hear about her experience at the Paris Games earlier this year and also just her journey that took her to get there, and including kind of a bumpy road here in 2024. So, Kate, tell me kind of where you are and how you're feeling today. You know, we are kind of post-season, right? Racing season?
Yeah. Yep. No, you stated it perfectly. It's been quite the journey getting here. Not even just this past year, but like the past couple of years, has been quite crazy. So the fact that like the games are over and it's already been 2 months since the games, insane, absolutely insane. And that the holidays are here, time has just flown by. I started this call by saying, "Oh my goodness, Christy, I can't believe it's been 2 years since we've seen each other."
We miss you.
Yeah. Yep. And so, yeah, I've been out here at the Olympic and Paralympic Training Center that Colorado Springs has, which is specifically for athletes who have potential or who are competing at the highest level of their sport. There's multiple sports that are held out here, both able-bodied and Paralympic, which is super cool to kind of see the combination of both sides. And yeah, it's been 2 years.
So I want to also kind of paint a picture of your guys' connection, Kate and Christy. Christy, when did you first meet Kate, and where was she in her journey in this, you know, Paralympian adaptive athlete world?
Yeah. I mean, when I first met Kate, she was just trying to find what sport was really going to work best for her, where she was going to find the most success. And really, she landed first in rugby and played wheelchair rugby. She still plays wheelchair rugby. She's wicked good. People still ask us, wait a minute, is Kate on your roster for this weekend? Because it's a whole different ball game when Kate's on the roster. So, really, it was rugby first when I met her, and then Nick Long from Fusion Medical and Neurocare got her into handcycling, and she took off from there.
So, Kate, tell me a little bit about your journey. What was the injury, illness that kind of started this that, now makes you a wheelchair user?
Yeah, so I was actually a pretty unique case in that high school I had been dealing with some back pain that I had just attributed to me being a stubborn high schooler and not doing my stretching correctly. I was on a rowing team for the Lowell High School and stuff, and solely attributed it to that. I was doing beyond overtime as far as performance for that because I really love the sport. I loved being on the water, the early mornings, be able to seeing the sunrise and stuff, getting outside, creating that community of friends, all people who are, just trying to find community, trying to find themselves within sport, the community, all of it. I fell in love with it, and then it was actually right after I had graduated high school. I was working for a directional drilling company, and we had a gas main that broke. So I went to go chase for the truck as far as to be able to call Mistig and the emergency services needed to notify that we hit a gas main. And in doing so, my legs completely collapsed under me. And when I say I ate concrete. Fell face first and gashed my face open and stuff. And that was finally the straw that was like, okay, yep, I need to like really figure out what's going on. Because up until then, it seriously just felt like, okay, having some pain running down the legs and stuff, but like muscle soreness. And it was then they had diagnosed me with a herniated disc. It was supposed to be, and they had told me, they were like, okay, let's try PT. do the steroid injections to see if it helps relieve it. It should slip back into place and you should be good. That ended up not happening. And after several months of, PT injections, one surgery that failed, and then the second surgery was the final surgery that really failed, where I ended up developing a blood clot that traveled up my spinal canal, damaging my C4 and C5 vertebra. And yeah, it kind of led me to where I am now. It was supposed to be an outpatient surgery. And I was so naive in the moment of like, yep, 19 years old. I'm going to be back to working for Virgin's Broadband, the company I was working for, go back to Ferry State. In many ways, I was going to school for construction management. I thought I had my life set. I was like,
Yeah.
cool. I don't have to do any of this, like, feel a wonderance or anything. I love the path that I'm taking. And then, yeah, this injury completely flipped that upside down. But the one thing I did realize is I have always enjoyed being active, being outdoors, being involved. And so that was kind of where, like, honestly, in the beginning days, that was where Mary Freebed stepped in. And their main mission has always been getting people back to doing what they love, whether it be through adaptive sports, through the community, you name it. Like, that's their number one goal. And I, especially during that time, I really didn't know what life was going to look like for me or what I wanted it to look like. I felt very lost because I had this, what I thought was set path, completely uprooted from me. And so that was where, like, I really leaned on Mary Freebed and Nick from Fusion Medical as far as like just getting involved and trying everything and anything possible. Which I to this day say again, it's amazing what community can do. And Mary Freebed has definitely been very strong in that.
How typical is that, Christy, to hear that people that you are working with? So Kate goes through our inpatient rehabilitation program in recovery, and then she gets connected and gets starting to be involved in adaptive sports.
Well, that's why we're here in wheelchair and adaptive sports, to be part of the continuum. Kate came from acute care to Mary Freebed, did inpatient rehabilitation, had a recreational therapist during that journey that introduced her to life after a spinal cord injury. Life is not over. There's a way to be healthy, active member of society, and gave her lots of opportunities where she could kind of explore what the next chapter of her life looks like, and what can fuel that competitive spirit that was there when she was in rowing. Now, what does it look like in a new sport community?
We hear sometimes it's like getting back to a normal or a new normal. How did sport kind of help you with that? Get back to those hobbies and that competitive nature within you? Like, what drew you to the rugby and to hand cycling?
It's been interesting. Like, as far as the competitive nature of it, yeah, I'm a very competitive person, but that's not been the like main thing that has like helped me with it all. It was, getting involved with people who are also in very similar situations. Quad rugby really did that for me. I was given some pretty harsh realities of what life would look like and what I would be capable of initially when I was first put into rehab, which definitely scared me. But it was because of rec therapy and actually one of the dietitians that sat with me for like 2 or 3 hours in Mary Freebed and just like talked to me about it. That showed me just the strength of community and stuff. And so like me starting to get involved with trying all the new adaptive sports, like Christy can tell you, I was trying everything under the sun. Even if it was going to be a complete disaster, I was trying everything. And so yeah, for me, it was in those beginning days, it was like that kind of little kick in the butt that we need sometimes to say, hey, yeah, you can do this. It might be scary, but like, at least try. You don't know if you don't try. And so yeah, doing that, it's brought me so many opportunities. Never in a million years would I have imagined myself being out here in Colorado and revolving my life around adaptive sports and being a competitive cyclist. It's been absolutely incredible, and it's all because of that, just taking the chances and taking the opportunities that are given to me, which Mary Freebed and Nick do an amazing job of. And it's just showed me what's possible with this injury, and you can be independent and stuff, and so much is possible.
So Christy and Kate, I want to ask you this both, like to go from a weekend warrior where you really love the competitiveness, but then to take it to that next level, like, okay, Team USA called me or I reached out to them. I mean, how did that all happen? And I think it might kind of go back to your first race in hand cycling at the Riverbank run, because it was her first one where she won, right? This was 2022. Her first time doing the Grand Rapids, the Amway Riverbank run, 25K hand cycle. She won the women's division. And then what happened after that?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I kind of kept the competitive side down for the first couple years. It was a lot of people being like, "Hey, come on, try this." Even with rugby and all the other adaptive sports that I tried, I just showed up to practices at first. And then after enough people being like, "No, no, you're like actually good at this. You should try this." It was then once I finally said yes to that next step that I realized just the doors that it opened and stuff. I went into that race just solely as okay, let's go out and have fun and see what truly going hard is like. Because I did at first just take adaptive sports as a like, okay, it's just getting me around other people in similar situations. I don't know if I really want to become competitive with it. And I think part of that was just due to still a little bit of sadness of losing Roy, because I was initially working towards going to college under a rowing scholarship. And so, yeah, there was definitely a little bit of hesitancy at first. But, once I took those steps, it was so many doors opened. And next thing you know, here I am, going to other races and stuff with the Mary Freebed team, which was really cool. And yeah, it was the Mary Freebed hand cycling team and some of their other athletes, Matt Chafee and Matt Tingley, who, kind of just got me to take that leap of faith as far as going. And, my very first paracycling specific race was truly the first race where I was like, okay, this is a race. I got to figure out what hard looks like. There's some big climbs, and here is really technical. I'm amongst a paracycling specific only race. And let's see what this is about. I wasn't looking at standards or any of that stuff. And then next thing you know, I ended up qualifying for my first World Cup and World Championships, which is actually these photos right here.
Okay.
And it kind of just took off from there. And it was, that was when I was then offered my spot at here at the training center. And I just took that as like, okay, yeah, let's see where we really can go with this, as it was the like the epitome of being able to develop yourself as an elite athlete. I have all the resources from sports medicine, sports dietitians, strength and conditioning, cycling coaches, everything to like truly dial me in to being an elite athlete has been what this last 2.5 years has been.
And what was it like when you've got that first like gold world championship? What was kind of going through your mind that like you hit this level, like, wow, I'm at another place that I'd never expect to be at?
That you said it perfectly. I don't know if you've ever seen the menu where it's just jaw drop. What? That's me. That was me. 100% me. And it still is to this day. I was a very unique case in my career as far as success took off very quickly. And I never take that for granted. I'm very fortunate to be in the shoes that I'm in. And I think a lot of that just came down to, in many ways, me being where I am with my disability, especially in hand cycling, I was riding, especially in the group rides, I was riding amongst people who had a lot more ability than me, but I just said, you know what? I don't care. I enjoy these people and I'm just gonna chase after them.
Mm-hmm.
For still to this day, I'm the only H2 women's H2 hand cyclist competing in the US. So I've always just, for me, I have never let it, be like, okay, I'm alone. I have to figure out what my standard is. I've always just said, okay, well, I'm gonna, work towards my peers and chase them. Because they've been, the huge motivators as far as keeping me like working towards more and working harder and understanding what like the competition is and stuff. And yeah, so it's, created this drive in me that has just shown me so much as far as what I am capable of.
Really quick, 'cause I know it's. Go ahead,
Oh,
Chrissy. Sorry.
that's okay. Kate, what was the you mentioned a race when they actually moved you up and you were able to compete with the next level up in function, just so you had like competition in the race.
Yes.
And that was like a big win.
Yeah, so one of the things I have really chased for since I've started competing at the international level with cycling is for me to be able to compete with the upper classes, the H3 and the H4s. So a quick little backstory as far as like what are these numbers? Each disability is given a classification based upon where their disability is. This is amongst all sports. And so for cycling, on the handbike categories, it goes from H1 through H5. The lower the classification you are, the more disabled you are. So H1 and H2 are typically quadriplegic classifications. H3, 4, and 5 are para or amputee classifications. The one thing that I was told going into this is at the Paralympic level, I will be competing with the H3 and the H4 categories, which immediately for me, the competitive side of me said, okay, well then that's who I have to chase after. When I first started racing at the international level, at the UCI level, which is our World Cup level, we all race our own individual classes. But the thing that I really did not like was my class was given a lot shorter distances, and typically even sometimes different courses that were quote unquote easier because of what our classification was labeled as. And the gripe that I had was if you want us to be able to compete at the highest level, the biggest stage in the world at the Paralympic level, with the H3 and 4s, then you need to start combining us with the 3 and 4s as far as what they're doing. And so every race, I was the little annoying orange having our director saying, hey, we'd like to do the same distance or the same course. And they started saying yes. And then in Santiago, the Parapan Games, they initially had me, the H2 category, doing my own race. I was the only H2 hand cyclist there on the women's side. And I was like, this is absolutely stupid. You guys are having nations come all the way over to Santiago, Chile to race by themselves. When at the biggest stage, we're going to be racing together with these categories. And so they said, okay, you will have to sacrifice the potential for medal and you'll be up against the H3 and 4s. And I was like, yes, let's go. And, they kind of looked at me like I was crazy. And that was the first time that, I got to actually start with the H3 and 4 categories, which was super cool. And I ended up getting second place in that race, which was super cool. I was never so happy for a second place. It was absolutely amazing, and it was the first time that I got to like truly race with other hand bikes and stuff and understand pace lines and stuff and all that, and it just like took off from there. I was like, all right, we're making this happen more and more.
Well, let's now jump.
If you tell Kate Brim she can't do something, she'll be like, watch me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so, Kate, let's jump ahead now to 2024 and the Paris Paralympics were coming up. Tell me about the lead up to this and the moment when you realized, hey, this is a possibility and I might be selected to be on the team.
Yeah. So I honestly never had that thought of I might be selected on the team just because of everything that had gone on in the past year. At the beginning of the year, I was like, okay, we're doing good, we're doing good. And then it was about 2 weeks before our Paralympic trials, I unfortunately noticed a huge crack along the entirety of the back of my bike, in the carbon fiber, and went, oh crap, this is a really important part of the bike because it has the draft bar and we have rules for that bar that sits behind the wheels as far as how high it can be, its integrity, all these rules. And so immediately it was like cracking down, trying to figure out what do we got to do to in order to be able to get this fixed. And so there was a lot of stress around that because I couldn't find anyone that was willing to repair the carbon because they were worried about the integrity of the bike due to it being essentially really, really close to the spine of the bike. Think of it like, people, if the spine breaks, it's done. And so they did not want to mess with the liability of that. I ended up last minute finding a prosthetics company that did a very kind of shoddy job of just epoxying it together to get me through the trials, and then we would kind of go from there as far as what would happen. So flew my way to Loma Linda, California, with a bike that was quite literally epoxied together in the back, and then was let know, hey, this might not meet codes and you might not be eligible to race, which was also very scary because I needed to do that race in order to even be considered for the games. And so that was definitely nerve-wracking. But I just had to stay calm in the situation and just, take it step by step. And so, I showed up there. In every race we do, we have to do what's called bike check, which essentially just makes sure that our bikes are up to code amongst from head to toe up the bike, cranks, height, rear wheel width, everything you can imagine. They've got all these little nitpicky rules to make sure that the bikes are safe and nothing major is going to happen as far as mechanicals or injuries. So I get up there, they see my beautiful job, start messing around with it, and they're like, hey, we'll let you race today, but this does have to be fixed before the next time you race. So definitely nerve-wracking knowing that, okay, I'm going into the biggest race of my life, and in a matter of a couple weeks later, we're supposed to be leaving for the games if I make said games. Wow. Yeah, and so it was very nerve-wracking, and like I had a little bit of tears in the moment, but like I just knew all I could do was go out there, do the best I can, and if something happens, it happens. I did the best that I could. I did it. I managed to finish the race, punched my ticket to Paris, as you can see these in these photos, which was, very surreal. I had a lot of emotions like on the plate at the time, and when I got the call, it was a very hard call to take because I was like, oh my goodness, I made the games, but I have this huge elephant in the room of I have a bike that's not race legal right now, and it's not an easy fix as far as getting it figured out. And so, my mom and her best friend were in the car with me, and I'm answering this phone call, and I just was like kind of frozen. He congratulates me. I'm like, okay, but what do we do with the bike now? I don't have a race legal bike. And he was like, yep, okay. I'm gonna make some calls to Carbon Bike, the maker of my bike, and we're gonna get this figured out, which was really hard in the moment because this is what people work 4 years for,
Yeah.
lifetime of work for, and here I am facing this huge situation of, am I even going to be able to do it? I've put in all this work, but right now I don't have a bike that can get me to the start line. And so, fast forward, we made it work. We were able to get a new frame somehow fast tracked to me with a little bit of a little bit of money involved and stuff. But we got me a new frame. We got the new frame set up, and which was cool. And then flying home from Loma Linda, I had initially said, okay, I've got a huge weight off my shoulders. We're working on getting the bike fixed. Was just going to take that week to do easy riding. Day one, noticed the heart rate was a little higher. I was like, it's all right. It's just stress related. I was super freaked out. Day two, the same thing. And then went to bed that night and ended up waking up with a pretty high fever due to a pretty serious kidney infection. That put me in the hospital for 2 weeks, which was super, super unfortunate because I had told myself, that whole year leading up to the games, all I have to do is stay healthy, and so then this happened, and it rocked my boat for sure. I was very sick and slept the days away, and the 2 weeks that I was in the hospital flew by, and the fact that we got me out of the hospital in time for the games was absolutely insane. But we did it, and thankfully, due to the amazing sports medicine team that we have and the team that is sent to the games, we were able to get me there to that start line, and which was absolutely insane. First we had our training camp in Majorca, where I essentially, in many ways, felt like I had to go from the ground up again.
Yeah.
I'd been off the bike from 2 weeks. I had lost a lot of weight due to how serious the infection was. And, left the hospital with also some prolonged complications that we had to deal with while we were there. But yeah, then the games happened, and it was time trial day, which I just felt so like, holy cow, the day that we've all been waiting for is here. Like, I'm here in the start pen, getting ready to give it my all for this one race. And in the time trial is unique in that it's a race against the clock. So it's not like your typical marathon where you all start and whoever finishes whoever crosses the finish line first is the winner. This is solely a race against the clock. Each racer has their own start time, and at the end of all the people racing, whoever has the fastest time is the winner, and then it goes down from there as far as times. So it's a race that when you cross the finish line, you don't right away know where you placed. And so I gave it my all. I crossed the finish line. I was like, okay, I did everything I could. And then my director came out, like running out of the car, practically tripping over himself. And he was like, you did it. You won. And I just was like shell shocked. I didn't even know how to feel, especially considering that last 2 weeks that I had just been through with the infection. Was absolutely incredible by 9 seconds at that, which was so crazy. Yeah. Yep. Like,
So
gives
just
you chills.
you were literally in the hospital, and then 2 weeks later, you had a gold medal around your neck. Like, how close was that? Am I 2 weeks, right?
2.5, 3 weeks. Yeah. Yep. It was insane. The fact that we made it happen was miraculous. We dealt with a lot while we were there in Paris. Dealing with some pretty serious stuff still while we were there. But every single one of us, including myself, had that goal of getting me to the games, because that was the thing that I had been working my tail end off for, and it was truly, truly incredible. And I still to this day look back on it and I'm like, wow, it's amazing, the power of support and an incredible team to like get you to that stage, what it can do, because without the support that I had, I never in a million years could have done this by myself.
And then speaking of team too, you participated in another race a couple days later, a relay, and you and another Michigan resident, Matt Tingley, pulled in a bronze. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So this relay team, was essentially we were really, really hopeful for this team, and actually both Matt and I came into this with unfortunate circumstances. Matt had an injury to his foot not too long before heading out to the Paralympics, and then me with my sickness. So it was we were all very nervous. But I think the most beautiful part about it was all of us went into it, it's like saying all we can do is the best that we can do. Go out there
Yeah.
and give it up whatever 100% looks like, and the rest is history. Like that's all we can do. We can't gripe over what we couldn't change. We can't let the fear and all this take us over. All we can do is just go out there and truly give it 100%, and that's exactly what we did. And we managed to score that bronze medal, which I think was a very special bronze medal for Team USA. Just given those circumstances alone.
Christy, what's it like seeing somebody that has gone through the Mary Free Bed continuum, inpatient, outpatient, wheelchair sports, now get to the top that they can get to in adaptive and wheelchair sports? How do you feel as like someone who's had a small piece in her story?
I'm just so proud, and I was up at 4:30 in the morning watching you, Kate, race, and I just couldn't wait to watch every single time that you raced, and I wanted to be in Paris, and I wanted to it's just we are such the cheerleaders for you guys as athletes, and to be a part of your story and to see how far you've come in such a short period of time. We're just so proud.
Yeah, I know that we were at the team here, the staff, and especially patients too, when they heard news that we had people from West Michigan and people that were connected to Mary Free Bed out there competing. They were all very excited. And so the success for 2024 didn't end with Paris. You actually had a couple more races too. How did the rest of the season finish for you?
Yeah, it was insane. You look at the Paralympic and Olympic Games and you see that as the biggest stage of the world. And then for the paracycling side, we 2 weeks later had World Championships in Zurich, Switzerland. And for that, I opted to stay in Europe to just keep acclimated to the time change. Um, Due to the amount of travel and just the stress of everything that was going on, I opted just to stay over there. My mom and I essentially just tried to make a little vacation of it, and we went to the south of France, and then this little mountain town in Switzerland called Irolo. Was absolutely beautiful. I did some pretty epic riding out there. And then next thing you know, yeah, it was the World Championships. It was right there, and all of us were in many ways, a lot of us that were there had been on the Paralympic roster, and we were all very tired. It was a lot of travel. We were in Europe almost 2 months total, which, as you can imagine, living out of a suitcase and lugging around all that equipment is very tiring, takes a lot of work, takes a lot of organization, all while being at the mercy of we got to stay healthy through it all, because sport is one of those things. It's not happening if you're not healthy. And so, yeah, World Championships came. It was super cool because it was alongside the able-bodied side, the road crew, which was super cool to see. And yeah, so that was there. I was able to do the time trial, road race, and team relay. We had a different team relay team because Travis, he did not go to Zurich, so it was Ryan, Penny, Matt, and I. There was a little bit different level of competition there. We ended up pulling a sixth there for the relay, but it was absolutely amazing just seeing how strong the competition could be there. Super cool. And then the time trial and road race, I managed to score a couple more gold medals, which was super cool, and just, again, so surreal considering I had just come off the Paralympic Games and everything going on.
So I don't know if you keep track, but how many gold medals do you have, and how many just total medals?
It's so bad. I do not keep track at
thought-
all. Yeah. It's one of those things like it's a little different for everyone. For me,
Mhm.
racing has never been about the wins or being super successful or I
Mhm.
want to get on the podium. For me, it's solely just been like the message that is created for both myself and like allowed me to show others as far as what's possible in life, the dreams that we can chase and stuff. And just the sky's the limit as far as how far you can go as long as you have the right resources and tools and methods of going about it and stuff. That's what it's been for me. I absolutely love racing, but what it's created for me as far as opportunities and everything, that's where it really hits home for me.
Christy, what's it like listening to Kate and share her perspective and her journey? Um, what do you think someone watching this can take away from her story?
Kate is the hardest worker I know, and yet so humble at the same time. And she is just such a strong woman and strong athlete, and she has so much to share with the world. And I'm excited for so many to see this that may not know that that's possible for them as
Mhm.
well. That as a female or as an athlete or as someone with a disability to be an athlete, that all of these things are possible.
Yeah, that's so great to hear. Kate, last question as we wrap up. What would be your advice to someone who's maybe getting into wheelchair adaptive sports or just going through their own injury or trials? What would be advice from your story you'd want to share with them?
Yeah, I think kind of what I had just emphasized on of like I think so often in sports we can too easily get caught up in performance metrics. Oh, I'm not better, no, I'm not as good or as able as, my partner over here. I can't do this or oh, I'm this much slower than this person. I solely went at it as like this is like showing me how much harder I can work and what is possible and what you truly can chase and stuff and
Mhm.
just you know I to this day and always will use adaptive sports in the community that I have been surrounded with as my motivator to not only
Mhm.
keep pushing and understanding that sometimes it's hard, sometimes we make a fool of ourselves in the process of it, but the opportunities and just what it can show you as an individual, both as an athlete and just in everyday life, that's where it really matters. And I think that's the beautiful part of adaptive sports that it can bring if you let it bring it to you.
Well, that has been so great. Kate and Christy, thank you so much for chatting with us. It's been so exciting to talk. We've been talking with Kate Brim. She is a gold medal winning Paralympian at Paris 2024, former patient at Mary Free Bed and part of our handcycle team and also part of our rugby team. We were also chatting with Christy VanHaver. She is a recreational therapist, also a sports coordinator at Mary Free Bed Wheelchair and Adaptive Sports. If you missed any of this conversation, jump back in your feed and watch it all again. If you got any questions or things you want to learn about wheelchair and adaptive sports, you can go to maryfreebed.com/sports. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We wish you, Kate, the best in your future competitions. And thank you all for watching, and stay healthy and stay well.